This is the slowest moving object in Minecraft. It is even slower than the setting we know. Do you want to know exactly how slow it is? Countdown begins. 3, 2, 1. Actually, it has been moving while I was speaking. Not only that, the game is running at 100 times the normal speed. And this thing is not stationary. But to understand exactly how slow it is, first let me explain how this works. This comes from a change made in the Game Center update. Cyclone will reflect any projectile back in the direction it came from. When you shoot an arrow at it with a bow, the arrow will bounce straight back. But what if you shoot it from directly above? Obviously, the arrow will bounce upward, but only a little bit. Then it falls back down, repeatedly bouncing on top of the Cyclone Man. Pressing F3 allows us to display the arrow's hitbox. Whenever it gets somewhat close to the Cyclone Man, it immediately gets bounced back. Then gravity pulls it back down. This not only looks comical, but the sound is also annoying. However, there are other projectiles in the game, such as the trident. Throw it at its head. You'll notice it bounces up a bit, but then gets pulled back by gravity, creating this rather comical scene. Since these two projectiles keep moving, they won't disappear, because neither is embedded in a block. But since both are still affected by gravity, if you move the whirlwind away, it will still fall to the ground, and the loyalty enchantment won't take effect, because it didn't hit any object. Now try more projectiles. Shoot fireworks at this whirlwind with a crossbow. It can even deflect fireworks. Even with multi-shot, it doesn't work. Not even a piercing ivy enchantment helps. It tries to deflect ender pearls, but still teleports the player directly, teleporting to the edge of the whirlwind. Several other items break above its head. Splash potions, EGS and snowballs. But blaze fireballs are rather strange, because they only set targets on fire upon impact. However, since Cyclone Man cannot be hit by them, they won't catch fire, except for blaze fireballs from blazes. Large fireballs are also like this. When you shoot at it, you'll notice it deals no damage at all, and it won't be reflected either. Projectiles also include wither skulls. If you push the skull downward, it will explode above the whirlwind's head. Projectiles also include dragon's breath orbs. This requires a sticky piston to push. See, it did hit the whirlwind, and the dragon's breath caused damage. Ender eyes can pass through it without any issues. Llamas can also launch projectiles. It's saliva. But it seems the alpaca also can't hit the whirlwind man. The fishing rod's float isn't strictly considered a projectile, but it will first go above the whirlwind man's head, bounce off a little before hooking the whirlwind man, or directly pass through it and fall into the boat. But the whirlwind man cannot reflect the shulker's missiles. The strangest thing is still its own wind projectile. If you throw a wind projectile at it, it will also bounce back, but if you bounce it back again, just like playing table tennis, the wind bomb will suddenly get stuck, continuously trying to approach the whirlwind person. Since the wind bomb is not affected by gravity, it won't fall downward. You can shoot it again in the desired direction. However, if launched using a launcher, you won't be able to play ping pong. The wind bomb repeatedly approaches as it did before, but the cyclone will bounce it back. Note that the wind projectile here simply continues along its original downward path, rather than being affected by gravity. If you have two cyclones, and want them to play ping pong, although projectiles will generally be deflected, or won't last very long. However, since wind projectiles aren't affected by gravity, if we throw a wind projectile between them, then move away, can you see it bouncing to another cyclone character? Then fly back again. Bounce one more time, but pay attention. The wind projectile slows down with each bounce. It looks very slow now, but it becomes even slower after bouncing. So the closer the two cyclone characters are, the slower the wind projectile bounces. As a result, it will slow down more quickly. Moreover, once the wind bomb decelerates, it is your turn to jump into the boat. Bring the two closer together. Now they are even closer. The wind bomb decelerates faster. What is more, two cyclone beings in one boat, even closer than before. Therefore, the extreme cases, the two cyclone beings are too close, so that the wind bomb doesn't bounce back, but passes through one of them. Speed up the game. Carefully observe the edge of this wind bomb's collision box. Align the crosshair with this line. If you look very closely, you can see the wind bomb is actually moving. Currently it happens to coincide with the crosshair. It will jump a small step to the right after a while. Because it moves extremely slowly, it takes a long time to move forward even a little. Even though my game is running at 100 times S speed, it still barely moves. But how slow is it exactly? We can use commands to get information about this wind bomb, including its coordinates, who launched it, and its speed. The unit of speed is meters per second. Players walk at about 3 meters per second. Running speed is 4 meters per second. Running jump speed is 7 meters per second. So how many meters per second is our wind bomb? Look at the three numbers here. The first one is the velocity in the x-axis direction. The second is in the y-axis direction. The third is the z-axis. Our wind bomb is moving along the east-west direction. Then its speed is on the x-axis. The first set of values shows 8. Don't assume it is 8 meters per second, because there is an e afterwards, followed by -8. This is a method used to conveniently write very large numbers. Very large numbers are represented by positive exponents. Very small numbers are represented by negative exponents. But the leading number is still large, so this value is not 8. We need to move the decimal point 8 places to the left. So it actually looks like this. Its speed is as slow as several tens of nanometers per second. This is even slower than the speed of a sea turtle. Only when the flame spreads does this peculiar machine advance, and it is still slower. Moreover, it can be slower than machines that rely on lightning to move forward. However, it is not quite appropriate to compare constantly moving wind charges with machines that depend on random numbers. Due to recent updates, wind charges can pass through non-solid blocks. For example, a string. We can use an observer to detect the movement of wind charges, because it will cause block updates of the string block. The observer can detect it, and this timing method doesn't require much space. The only problem is that wind charges slow down with each bounce. What if we push it with a slime block? That will cause it to accelerate again, but you can use a timing device to make the piston and breeze repeatedly launch. If combined with water flow, it can slightly accelerate the wind projectile. After passing through water, the speed of the wind projectile remains relatively consistent with the original. So you can use these to create a continuous timer. You can also use two streams of water. After it passes through, it gets bounced back by another wind character, passes through the water flow again, slows down after being bounced back by the wind character on this side. When it comes into contact with the water flow, it gets accelerated. but there is a bit too much reverse current, preventing it from breaking through, then flows back, just like riding a roller coaster. The wind bomb cycles back and forth, like a pendulum, since I launched it manually. The direction isn't perfect, it will eventually hit the edge. To solve this problem, you just need to eliminate the horizontal velocity of the wind ball, push it with a piston or something similar,